Hello friends, hope you are doing well. Welcome back to our channel ML for Analytics and welcome to this playlist DAX OBC. Now from this particular video, we'll start a new concept or we'll learn new topic that is evaluation contexts, and we'll start with the first evaluation context, that is the filter context. So basically there are two types of contexts. One is filter context and one is row context. So in this particular video, we are going to provide the introduction to this filter context and we'll see some scenarios related to filter context. So let's get started. So friends, as you can see on my screen that I have opened the Power BI desktop, and on my screen you can see two tables on the top. Those are two visuals, table visuals, and on the bottom the bottom left I have a filter based on English occupation. And on the right side on the fields menu we have few tables imported from the Adventure Work data warehouse. So let's define the filter context first. So basically, as the name suggests, that filter context basically defines the filters in the report. Now these filters can be at any level. They can be in the visual, so saying that in the visual level, they can be at the slicer level, outside the visual, they can be at the page level, or they can be at the report level. So let's see how many different type of filters we can create in Power BI itself. So the first filter, as we can see on this table visual, this first column, that is whatever dimension we are using inside the visual, that itself acts as a filter, right? So this is the first level filter. Now, when we move outside this filter, we have basically slicers. So we use slicers. In slicing and dicing the data, you must have already used this slicer. So this also acts as a visual level filter. So in this we can select one value and filter out the values in other visuals also using the highlighting and filtering method in Power BI. So this is another level of filter. Now if we go to the filters pane, you can also see the filters on the page level. So you can see, you can drag and drop any filter. So it will be filters on this page. So on the whole page you can apply the filter. And then last is the filter on all pages. It means the whole report of Power BI, this particular report. So whatever dimensions you will add in this particular area will be acted on the whole report itself. So these are the four level of filters which you can apply on this particular report. Now let's start with our first visual, in which let's see what I have done here. So what I have done here, as you can see that the DIM product category table is highlighted. So I have basically taken the DIM product category name from the DIM product category table. And then I have created two measures inside this visual. One is sales amount and the second is total quantity. So let's see the first visual, what I have done here. Okay, so here is the code of the sales amount. Friends, as you can see, this is the this code, but we have seen multiple times to calculate the total sales amount. We have used the SumX function and iterating over the fact internet sales and multiplying the order quantity into unit price for each row, and then summing up the whole value, which gives us the total sales. Okay, so now let's see the values, and let's see the another measure, which is total quantity. It is also a simple measure like sum of fact internet sales order quantity. So here we have defined it in two ways. So this is another way I have commented this, so it will also yield the same result. It's just another way of writing. So just to let you know that actually sum function resolves internally to SumX function only. So you can say that sum, average, these are shortcuts, if you, or you can say a quick measure if you want to build only a measure on a particular column. Otherwise, the more elaborate way to write the same measure is this one. Basically, this measure, if you write, this also internally resolves to this particular function only, or the code only. Okay, so as I mentioned that both these will result the same result. So I have dragged both the measures here, and as you can see that every row has a different value, right? So now what is happening here? Basically the filter is being applied. So here now the filter context has come into picture, So for each row, there is a different value. Basically, for every cell, the same measure will run independently. So this is the point which needs to be understood, that the same function, the same measure will be calculated independently for each row, including this total amount. So now, if we go to the first value, suppose accessory. So what is happening here is sum of sales quantity is happening, but only for the sales which has happened for the accessories category. So basically what is happening is, if we just open the code again, so the first argument is being evaluated based on the first filter, that is accessories, right? So the before iteration starts, the filter context will come into picture, and it will filter out only those sales from this table which will be belonging to accessories, right? After that, whatever rows will be filtered and the table would be returned, then the sumx would start its calculation, and it will calculate the second argument for each row, and then finally sum up all the values and return us a single value. So this is happening. Similarly, this is happening for this row also, bikes and clothing, and now finally happening for total. So now in case of total, you can understand it in this way, that basically the filter context is empty. Basically here there is no filter being placed. So total, then in case the whole sales table would be returned and the value would be summed up, and we will get the total sales amount. Now similarly, same thing is happening for total quantity also. For accessories, only those rows will be filtered from the fact internet sale tables, and the quantity would be summed up similarly, and then the total sales, total quantity. So in this way, basically the filter context works at the visual level. Now suppose I am applying a filter on another column. So let us choose this particular visual also, English occupation, right? So this is coming from the dim customer table. As you can see here, the dim customer table is highlighted as I have selected this visual. So basically in the visualization pane, I have dragged dim English occupation from the dim customer table. So now let's select one value. Let's select professional. Okay. So now you can see that the numbers have changed. So what has happened is, as I mentioned that all the filters, so there is one point to remember now, very important, that all the filters, be it a visual level filter, be it a slicer, be it a page level filter or a report level filter, they all combine together to form one filter context for a particular value. So basically, let us start with this value again, accessories. So what is happening is, now there are two filters acting. One is accessories itself, and the second is which is outside the visual, that is professional. So what will happen again is, if we again go back to the sales amount function or the code of sales amount measure, now the fact internet sales will be filtered by two filters. One is accessories, only those sales will be returned which will be belonging to accessories product category, and also the sales belonging to the English occupation as professional. Okay, so now the rows will be filtered further, so less number of rows will be returned. So that's why the total sales amount is also less. As you can see, the sales amount have changed. So earlier there was only one filter, accessories, now there are two filters. So that's why the total sales has reduced. So in this way, these two filters are combining for each calculation, for each row. So now this value is being calculated independently with two filters, accessories and professional. This same measure, same function is being evaluated for these two filters, bikes and professional, and similarly. Now in case of total, no filter is acting for product category name, only the filter professional is acting. So this is the total sales amount for the professional occupation, right? Similarly, the total quantity. So in this way, the filter context works. So basically, all the filters at all levels are combined together to form a one filter context. So there is no separate filter context. Filter context is always one. So you keep adding filters into the filter context or removing the filters. So at any point of time, there will be one filter context for a measure only outside. Okay. So now let's come to the second visual. So here is another scenario which I built. You can see now this is a matrix. The first visual was a simple table. Now this is a matrix kind of. So I have this is another way of representation, you can say. So what I have done here is you can see that on the rows I have kept the product category. On the columns I have kept the calendar year. So from dim date table I have taken the calendar year and then calculated this particular measure, that is sales amount, right? So now what would happen is, now there are two filters inside the visual. Instead of one filter earlier, which was English product category name, now there are two filters. So one is on the row level and another is on the column level. So row level is product category name, column level is calendar year. So now you can see that now for the same measure, the same code for the sales amount will be executed in two filter in a filter context which has two filters. So now the fact internet sales amount for, suppose let us talk about bikes. So in case of bikes, what would happen is, and 2010. So the same formula, the fact internet sales table would be filtered for product category name bikes and whatever sales which have happened in 2010. Then whatever rows will be returned from that fact internet sales table, over that the calculation will be done by the sumx function in that measure and the amount will be returned. Similarly for 2011, 12, 13, 14, and in this case we have the total amount. So in this in the column side, the basically calendar year filter will be removed here. Only one filter is acting for this column total. Similarly, in case of row total, suppose let us talk about this one. So no row level filter is acting, only the column level filter is acting, that is, this is the total sales for year 2010. And finally we have the final total value. You can see that this is in the first visual you can see these and these are same because no filter is acting inside the visual, only the outer filter is acting. Okay, so now you can better understand that for the matrix visual, actually now there are three filters. Two filters which are inside the visual. One is product category, second is calendar year, and one is outside the visual, which is the English occupation. So if we change the filter, the values would automatically get changed for both the visuals because the filter is applied to the whole report. So in this way, the filter context works. So the only point, the main point to remember is that filter context filters the values and it propagates to the whole model, right? So it works on a relationship basis. Basically, for the filter to act, you should have a relationship between two tables. And you can filter the values from the one side to the many side. So basically, you need to have a unit. You can have bidirectional relationships also, but in a star schema, in a general good model, you generally see a star schema kind of pattern, and in that you will have one-to-many relationships, unidirectional. So you will have a relationship which is propagating from one side to the many side in a star schema. So generally you will place filters on the dimension table which is on the one side. So this is a one side table you can say, and the many side table is fact internet sales. So basically for the filter to be applied, you need to have a relationship between the tables. If you are basically trying to build a filter based on another table. Second important thing is, as I mentioned, that all filters at all levels combine to form a single filter context. So these are the 2 points which are to be remembered for the filter context. So with this we come to the end of the scenario, and before we end this video, let us discuss some important points regarding the filter context. So let me switch to the important points. Okay, so the first point is filter context filters the report. This is a pretty simple point as we already discussed. The second point says that when filtering is going on, no iteration happens. Okay, so basically this point will make much more sense when in the next video we will discuss about row context. So basically for now you can understand that is filter context never iterates. Filter context only filters and iteration happens separately. It never happens that the two evaluation contexts will try to disturb each other, or you can say mingle up with each other. This will never happen. Both the contexts will run in their own way and independently. Okay, so this is the point to be remembered here. Third point is formulas are calculated within a context. We have already seen that in case of sales amount or total quantity, they are always calculated within a context. Now that filter context can be empty or it can have more than one filters. Same formula will, when calculated in a different filter context, will produce different values. So we have already seen that inside the table visual and the matrix visual, that for every row, for every cell, the value is different. Basically, the same sales amount measure is being calculated independently for every cell, the same formula in a different filter context. So that's why each value is independent of the other. That gives us the fourth point. Fifth point is all filters including rows, columns, slicer, page filter, report filter combine together to form a single filter context. So this I have mentioned many times in this video. So this is the point which needs to be remembered. And the last point is a filter can be thought of as a list of dictionaries. Now this I have written just to give you a sense, or trying to connect it with you how you can think of a filter context. So basically, if you have learned Python, if you have studied the concept of lists and dictionaries, so dictionary is a data structure which has a key value pair. So for each key you have a value, single value or multiple values. You can have a tuple of values, so something like that. And list is a ordered sequence of values. So basically, what we're trying to say is here that as I mentioned, that all values combine to form a single filter context. So these filters you can think are arranged in a list with a key value pair. So key value pair, I mean, like in our case in the visual, you can say that accessories, the English product category name equal to accessories. So this is one key value pair. Second key value pair is English occupation equal to professional. So now these two dictionaries, you can say these two values are in a list, and this combined will form a filter context. Okay, so in this way we can understand the filter context. It is a list of dictionaries. So friends, these are the points which I wanted to discuss with you regarding the filter context, and with this we come to the end of this video. If you have any questions regarding the filter context, you can post in the comment section and I will try to answer your question in my best possible way. So we'll see you in the next video. In the next video, we are going to cover the next evaluation context, which is row context. So friends, please do subscribe to our channel, and please don't forget to share this channel with all your colleagues or friends who want to learn Power BI or business intelligence. Take care and goodbye.